What's up, guys? Dylan Rush here, joined today by the general manager and head coach at Xtreme Couture, founder of Burn the Boat Shop, head coach of countless UFC and Bellator superstars, including UFC heavyweight champion Francis Ngannou, Mr. Eric Nicksick. Thank you for joining me. How you doing, Eric?
Oh, wow, man. Good to see you again.
Good to see you, man. It was good to see you last week at Bellator 289. But before we get to that, gotta tell you one thing. You were the hardest man. I've probably done 150 one-on-one interviews this year. This has been the hardest one to prepare for because there's just so much to ask you about, so much to talk about. I don't want to take up all your time. It's like some people, it's hard to interview them because there's not a lot to talk about. For you, it's just like, there's so much. But I'll start with this. Nazim Sadikov, Matt Frivola. What did you see from them tonight? How is it to have them there?
Man, I love those guys. Sarah Longo guys for sure. Like they just the pedigree alone and their tenacity, their ideologies towards fighting. There's a good reason why we get along so well. And I love the fact that they're it's welcomed for them to go out and train and come out and work with me and stuff like that. Because I don't think a lot of coaches allow that to happen. And credit to Matt and credit to Ray that they love that stuff. And all the while, man, we all get to work together and show some new wrinkles and show some new tools. But bro, Nas is no joke, man. That dude was good. We had some fun today, so it was good to hang out with him.
Yeah, I caught up with Nas before his Dana White Contender Series bout. That knockout was crazy. I'm heading to Law this weekend to catch up with Matt. I'm pretty sure he's leaving Vegas tomorrow. But Aljamain comes, Marab comes, all these guys, like you said. Do you guys have a sense of pride over there at Xtreme Couture that it's become the go-to gym for fight camps, for fighters from all around the country and even the world?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's I think it kind of goes both ways where I feel like, we provide maybe an atmosphere or training partners in a facility and also being close to the PI. I think it definitely going to draw in a lot of different fighters from different areas and stuff. But the real credit goes to guys like Ray and Matt who are comfortable enough in their own skin and don't have this huge ego and allowing their fighters, because I know there's other coaches that don't allow that. They don't allow guys to go and cross train and do get other work in. So I think it's a breath of fresh air because I allow it. I want my guys to go out and train and get other looks. So it's nice when other coaches do the same because at the end of the day, man, it's all about the fighters and not the coaches.
Makes sense. Makes sense. So like we mentioned, I saw you last weekend, Bellator 289. I'm pretty sure, was it just two corners for Kai Kamaka and Rafian Stotts, or was there one more?
That was it. That's all I had. But Patchy's my teammate, so Patchy was there as well with Coach Nate.
Yep. Kai, good bounce back win after last April's little controversial split decision lost. You like what you saw from Kai out there?
Yeah, very, very much so. I think for me, it's a lot of the things that we've been working on over the years. It was a compilation of the growth that we saw and how we like to attack, especially for Kai and his athleticism. We can obviously mix in the wrestling anytime we want, but the emphasis was to work the feet, and chop the legs, and then work our way up and find the body shots, and then again find the headshots and kill shots. So really Kai's movement, and I think his direction in cutting the cage off correctly. You saw where he pushed the Kevin, I believe his name was, all the way up to the barrier the whole time, and put him in a position where he was caught in those corner posts, and that's where I think Kai does his best work. So top to bottom, very, very proud of Kai, and especially he went out and got that finish in third.
I spoke to him earlier today. He called out Daniel Weichel next. He wants Daniel Weichel in the first quarter of 2023. That would be an exciting one. More importantly than anything, rate Rafian Stotts' impression of you at Bellator 289, 1 to 10.
I mean, bro, that's my guy. I love that kid, man. So, but I thought it was, I didn't know if it was like a cross between like a Canadian and then like, there's like Hawaiian in him. I don't know what the hell that was, but all the while he got the message, and that was the important thing, was get the message across going to him in round 5, and it worked out.
I see the logo as a Viking. Are you Nordic? Are you Norwegian or Swiss?
Yeah, Nordic.
Nordic. So tell me a little bit about Burn the Boat, because I really do like the logo. I never really heard of it before this week, but what can you tell me about the company?
It's something that my late uncle would talk about before football games, since he was our linebackers coach, and he always talked about Ferdinand Cortez and how the Spanish conquistador went out to defeat the Aztecs, and he was outnumbered, 10-1. and they wanted to turn around and retreat. And he told all of his captains of the ships to burn their boats, that we weren't leaving, that we were going to either die on this island or we're going to take their boats home. And it was just something that always resonated with me. It was more of about a mindset. And he always talked about, like, you're never fully given into something unless you give yourself no retreat, right? Like you can't say you're going to do something to its fullest and to the most capacity if you always leave yourself plan B. And that's something that always stuck with me. So, when I got into MMA and coaching and stuff like that, it was something that myself and Brad Tavares and a few small group of us always talked about. It's like, hey, we're going to burn these boats, man. We're not going to leave ourselves any room for error or retreat. And that's just something I think I just kind of coined and phrased.
We were speaking about Bellator 289. Bellator 290, we got Max Roskopf making his return to the cage, taking on Chris Gonzalez. That card, 3 fights, Bellator 290, are going to be on CBS. The top 2 are filled, Bader and Fedor and Nemkov and Romero. Is there any inkling of a chance that we will see maybe a quick turnaround for Patchy and Rafion and slate into that 3rd spot, February 4th?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, that's certainly up to Bellator if that's something they wanted, and Roth and Patch were able to get that in by that time. I'm sure we can do it if they wanted to. I would venture to guess both of them would have went a little bit more time in preparation, but if they said they wanted to do it, then we'll do whatever they tell us.
Understood. Now let's move on to UFC 282. Chris Curtis, great, was it 2nd round knockout, I believe, of Joaquin Buckley. It seems like there's a growing sense in the MMA community that the best is yet to come for Chris Curtis. Would you say that the coaches at XC share that belief?
Oh yeah, man. Like he's already in the room sparring. He was at practice on Monday. And the guy just loves to work and loves to grind. And I think, like, to me, honestly, like it's like good things happen to good people at the right time in their lives. And he was a guy that was ready to hang it up. He hung it up, when he was at PFL and he was training over at Syndicate, and he was like, I'm done with the sport. He quit and then got called back into that same night to fight. And then, when he moved over to Xtreme Couture, I think he won 4 or 5 in a row or something like that. And then he had a fight booked, and we had a teammate pass away. And I think that his team, when Kyle passed away, I think it took everybody, hurt everybody differently or affected everybody differently. And Chris being one of them, I think that was kind of like, man, I don't know if I want to keep doing this. But, he came to me and I was like, hey, man, like, let's finish the year out. Let's give it to the rest of the year. And sure as shit, we got the Phil Haas fight, and, the rest was history.
Yep. Do we see Doug Crosby judging this upcoming weekend?
Man, I don't see how you can, to be honest with you. I just don't see how you can with that type of backlash. And, I don't know if the communication between commissions, they talk like, oh, I didn't, maybe Nevada State Athletic Commission didn't know that he was judging a fight in Connecticut and then traveled all the way. Like, I don't know if that's ever disclosed, but it should be, that should be something that is disclosed. And it might have been a foul or a mess up on Doug Crosby's part. It could have been a mess up on the Athletic Commission's part. But at the end of the day, I think that the backlash that he's seeing in the last week or so, and not only that, it's a consistency thing with him. He should be relieved of his duties, and hopefully for I mean, I don't say fire the guy, but I definitely think that he needs to go back to the drawing board and reevaluate the way he looks at fights.
So Nathan Levy, he believes the crowd influenced the decision. He thinks that the crowd, the oohs and the ahs, got in the judge's head. Ariel Helwani believes Crosby has been known to suck up to promoters like Coker, like White in the past. Do you believe either of these, or do you just think that it was just a poor, I don't know, poor judging on his part?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to happen, and I think that, like, it's you're going to be human and you're going to make errors in some of those times, but it's a matter of consistency, right? Like you're not allowed to crash a plane more than like one time because people are going to die, Yeah. So with this guy, it's like, oh, I messed up. Then it's not an issue now. And like, you just move it on to the next time. And, to me, it's a consistency thing. And when is he being, repercussions on what he's doing wrong?
Held accountable. Yeah. I don't know which one's worse, the 50-45 for Sabatello or the 2 rounds for Patty. I don't know, but, for Ankalaev and Blachowicz, were you in Ankalaev's corner, or you just work with him?
No, I wasn't in his corner. I was in the back though. I went and checked in on him and saw him. obviously there's a language barrier there, so it's very difficult for us to be in the corner and talk to him about stuff. But for me, it was just more about energy and just being there with him and making sure he was doing all right.
And what did you think of the scoring of that fight, the outcome? It was close.
I think I could understand where like Mike Bell and those guys were coming from with rounds 1, 2, and 3. And again, like I was there, so I was looking at it from a different vantage point, and from where I was sitting, I felt like round 1 was Ankalaev's, but I have to go back and watch it for me to say like, oh, this was a clear round for Blachowicz. I thought rounds 2 was definitely Jan's. I thought round 3 was a kind of a toss-up round because I know Jan hurt him early, but I thought Ankalaev kind of picked it up as the round went on. And obviously 4 and 5 were very clear for Ankalaev. And then, your definition of what a 10-8 round is. And that 10-8 round is very subjective, I think, for the judge. I mean, he can look at things and see, the damage, duration, dominance, all those things. And it's kind of up to that person's scale. So, to be honest with you, I felt like Ankalaev won the fight, but I think you can make an argument for it being judged the way it was.
So of course, I'm a journalist. I'm a guy with an Instagram account. You're a coach. We aren't the ones that are paid to do things like this to fix the judging, to fix the scoring system. But do you anticipate that in your career, maybe in the next 5-10 years, that this scoring system will be updated, that we will do away from this boxing scoring system that we've had, the 10-9, the 10-8s?
I would hope so, because like the sport is always progressing. The sport is always evolving. And why not the judging? Why not the reffing and all those things? Like that's the way everything should be. There should be a constant evolution. And if you're staying within the Stone Age, then no one's going to get better. So I think that is a step in the right direction. I also think like one thing we talked about was like making these judges available after the fights to media, that they should have to sit in front of media and they should have to tell them what they saw and why they saw that. And I say that coming twofold. I've talked to judges after fights before, and I've heard their reasons why they scored something a certain way, and it brought to light something that I didn't see, or that, oh, that made sense to me. Okay, now I understand. The other side of that coin is you're able to hear if they're actually, inept, or if what they're saying is bullshit. And they have to vocalize what they saw, and what they're saying and they're vocalizing is completely off the rails. Then like, okay, this guy isn't up to standard or up to par. So it does twofold if you make them available and they have to speak on what they're judging and why they're judging it.
I wonder what the athletic commission's argument for why they shouldn't do that. Why judges shouldn't speak to the media. I wonder what the argument for that would be, because it seems like that would be just a clear, of course, not a solution, but like give people like disclosure, let people know. There has to be like some communication. I feel like the lack of communication is what's glaring above all else between all parties. So that's what gets a lot of fans frustrated right now. It gets me frustrated.
Honestly, I think it's them covering their own ass.
Yeah,
I really do, man. It's like, well, hey, if you guys are comfortable enough to put this person in this chair to ultimately affect this fighter and his camp for half his pay, then the least you can do is be up there on a podium and defend your reasons why you scored it a certain way, But I think there's some outliers within the judges community, and and look, I'm probably going to get shit on by some judges. I know that, but at the end of the day, I'm going to keep speaking out and telling and saying the injustices that I see on a week-to-week basis, because without us, there is no Yelp review, bro. Like there's nothing we can do to complain other than take to social media and Twitter. So if that's what we have to do as coaches and fighters to talk about judging and poor judging at that, then fuck it. I'll keep doing it. I'll keep saying it until I'm blue in the face.
You put it well, and Rafian put it best, that judge, Doug Crosby, 50-45 for Sabatello, that's messing with his livelihood. That's messing with his money. That's messing with his, kids, whatever it may be. There has to be some accountability. Sean Strickland, when he comes out and he says the things he says in press conferences, how do you react to it? Is it just funny to you guys?
I don't even listen to half the shit he says. Like I don't. I really don't. Like some of the shit he says in the gym, like, I kind of giggle at, or shake our head. And we're all pretty much accustomed to it anyway. But ultimately it's like, hey man, don't cross the line on certain issues and certain things. Like educate yourself on those things, and don't put the gym in poor light. And we're not going to have any problems. Like he's entitled to his opinion, he's entitled to his thoughts, but I'm also not going to handcuff myself to something that's poor taste or anything else. And it borderlines that a lot of times. You're like, dude, what the hell are you saying, man? And I think he just goes off in these tangents and these rabbit holes of shit that he says. You're like, bro, like, where are you going with this? So, but at the end of the day, man, he's a great teammate and he's a great dude to have in the gym, and we respect him for that.
I can't imagine how his mind works. I would just want to see how his mind works for 5 minutes. I feel like I'd go crazy. What was I gonna? Oh yeah, you said you don't watch a lot of his media stuff, but did you happen to see yesterday? I think it was when he went off on my friend Alex Buhunin, the journalist. Oh my God, he ripped my friend. Oh my God.
I saw Alex send me like a clip about the tattoo or something like that, and I just had the face palm emoji and I sent it back to him because Alex is in our gym all the time, So they probably that's where
he went on and on though.
Oh yeah.
Talking about he asked him if he met his girlfriend on like Elder Scrolls chat room. I don't even know what half this stuff means, but it's hilarious. Cody Garbrandt's returned to bantamweight versus Julio Arce. It's a big fight. What prompted him to return? Was it just one fight at flyweight and then return to bantamweight?
Yeah, I would think it was the one fight, and then with Kai Kara France, and he moved back up to bantamweight. And so, yeah, I really don't know a whole lot about the matchup or anything going on. I know I've cornered against Arce in the past, but I haven't really been in a whole lot of communication with Cody about this particular matchup. I know he was looking to get a fight and get it booked. So I'm glad they got him something on the books, and I know he was shooting for March 4th. So I just saw it just recently that he just finally got booked.
And then another guy, Jeremy Kennedy. I don't want to beat a dead horse. This is in the past, but I just want to say that I really agreed with you. Scott Coker, I like Scott Coker, but after that fight, what he said about Pico and Kennedy, and Pico was well on his way to a victory when it was a freaking 4-minute fight, and Kennedy, and Kennedy was in control the whole time. It's like, I don't think he was watching, and he's just, that was talking out of his ass. But do you think that this next fight with Carvalho is a #1 contenders match for Pitbull?
I do. I think so. And I think that fight makes a lot of sense as far as the clarity of what's going on in the featherweight division and with Bellator. But, Jeremy, I think, and to be honest and transparent, I think Jeremy needs to go out and do it in good fashion. He needs to go out and get a finish and put an explanation point on there for him to come out and make his claim for a title shot. So that's the game plan. We want to go out there and go to enemy territory again and go out there and go put on a show and go out and get a finish.
Just out of curiosity, just because I just thought of it, you have Kai Kamaka, you have Mads in the gym, and you have Jeremy. They're all in the same division in Bellator. Have you had moments and times in the past where two guys that you usually corner fight each other?
I mean, that can happen. It's happened in the past before, and for me, like when I was coming up through Xtreme Couture, Evan Dunham fought Tyson Griffin. That happened in the gym. Randy fought Mark Coleman. Mark Coleman was training in the gym. Stephan Bonner, Forrest, obviously, Stephan Bonner, Mark Coleman, so for me, like I guess I kind of followed Randy's lead on that stuff. It's like, hey, Brandon, there's really no secrets to this game. Train hard, may the best man win when it happens. And so I know certain guys don't like that feeling or that vibe. Like I'm cornering Rothion Stotts against Patchy Mix, and Patchy's my teammate. Yeah. I was hired by Rothion, 2 fights ago and really it's a lot about just the communication and transparency in the front end. Like, look, if and when this happens, here's what we're going to do, and here's how the way we're going to navigate it. But you see that ATT quite a bit. There's a lot of guys that fight each other, and there's Mike Brown cornered against Barumpa or whoever else in the room. So at the end of the day, it's a good problem to have, and our guys are winning fights, and now they're, like Patchy and Rothion are now fighting for $1 million and ultimately to change their lives.
Were you born and raised in Vegas?
Yeah, born and raised.
Born and raised. And growing up, were you always interested in MMA? Were you watching the sport, or how did you come to, coaching MMA, or just being
kind of crazy, but yeah, it was definitely something. Like in '93, I had the VHS tapes of UFC, and I'd run to the store and rent them out. And then I think I was probably like 12 or 13 years old. And then I would come back to the house, and all my friends would be over the house, and I'd be trying shit on them. And But one of my good buddies I'm still friends with to this day is Jeff Summers. Jeff fucking hates me because it was like I broke his ribs once, like doing all kinds of dumb shit and just trying stuff and whatever else. But for me, it was all about football. And then once football was over, MMA was always kind of there. I always liked the sport, but never really like trained at a serious nature. And then I had a good friend that was running a gym out here, and I kind of small little gym. And then I was training with him. He moved to Colorado, and then I heard Randy was opening up his gym now since like 2006, and basically stumbled across the gym, like walked in, was like, "Hey, what's up? I just want to learn." And they're like, "Cool, man, come in, I'll kick the shit out of you for a while." And that was it. Never really turned back. I never got into the sport wanting to be a pro fighter. It was more like I just wanted to be around, individuals that basically that were working hard and that weren't in the drugs and the alcohol and the nightlife in Vegas. They were showing up in the mornings and getting the work in and doing 2-a-days. So that to me, I wanted to be around individuals that match my work ethic.
When you walked in when you stumbled upon it that one day, did you have any intention of one day coaching, or were you just trying to learn the sport?
Just learning. Wow. Yeah. Just learning, man. It was kind of a funny thing was it was actually Jay Heron. Jay Heron, after one of the practices, was like, "Hey man, like, what do you want to do like with this sport? You're going to try to fight? You want to compete?" At the time I was going to school, and I was like, "Yeah, I think eventually this is something I actually want to coach." He goes, "Man, I think you'd be a really good coach. You should try to corner more guys or do this." So it was really Jay Heron who kind of pushed me in that direction of wanting to coach more. And then, I started picking up more and more stuff with the amateurs. And then I'd go back to the drawing board and I'd pick Jay's brain or Mike Pyle's brain. Like, hey, if you had in a perfect world, what would you do in this situation as a coach? And, or what would you see better out of coaches? And then Jay Heron always talked to me about like, hey, don't be a specialty coach. He's like, don't just learn one thing and then think that you're going to be a boxing coach, because if you weren't a boxer, people are going to say, well, you never boxed. If you weren't a kickboxer, people are going to say you never kickboxed. Try to learn every little asset of the sport and nuance of the sport. So when you go on the road with somebody, you're able to hold pads, wrap hands, wrestle, grapple, box, and do all those things. Because when you think about it as a fighter, you're taking 3 coaches on the road when you really only need to take 1. So try to learn every nuance of the sport the best as you can and become an MMA coach. Don't be a specialty coach. And that always really sat with me, man. And that's kind of where I took it.
And speaking of coaches, I want to name a couple. Of course, you know them, but just real quick: Nate Pettit, Ray Sefo, Dewey Cooper, Jason Manley, Dennis Davis, Roman Isbell, Eddie Baracco, Danny Davis Jr., James Gifford, James Shields. How proud are you of the team that you guys have assembled together, in the coaching core that you have at XC?
Oh, it's huge, man. Like, I was so proud of us winning Gym of the Year last year by MMA Junkie. Like, because it was one of my goals. Like, when I sat down and took over the gym, that was one of my goals that I sat down with Randy and talked about. It's like, I want to get us back to that championship status as a gym, as a team, and I eventually want to win that Gym of the Year. So we were nominated this year by Fighters Only. This year we didn't win it. We won it last year by MMA Junkie. So
who won this year for Fighters Only?
City Kickboxing won it. So for me, honestly, Dylan, it's like it just really shows the hard work that's put in and day out by that list of names that you said of the coaches that we have in the room. And what I wanted, by design, was I wanted all of our guys to be the head coach. All of us are head coaches to our fighters. All of us have guys that we work with exclusively, and you can interchange any one of us and we can help one another. So we're not all vying for the time or the attention of the fighters. So everybody's having their cake and everybody's getting fed. And I think that's what's important about our gym and our team is everybody, not only the fighters, but the coaching staff are being compensated correctly, and they're getting all the love and the shine that they deserve.
That's great, man. It's good that you guys have such a close core. Got to ask you about Francis, of course. One question: how did it feel to compete against Brandon Gibson and one of the best fighters of all time, and John Jones, if that fight were to be made in 2023?
Oh man, I love that. I mean, Brandon and I are very close. We talk all the time. He's a guy that I've always I say I look up to, and I love his game and I love what he's done as a coach. So, but like we talk, man, we're competitors and we want to try to beat each other. And that's what I love about Brandon is he's going to put a game plan together to try to beat, what I have coming forward and vice versa. And at the end of the day, we're going to hug it out at the end. And we already told each other it's, winners buying beers because you're going to have some money in your pocket.
Yeah.
again, man, like it's John Jones is not number one GOAT to me. You know, I take everything aside. I don't look at all the other stuff. I think pound for pound, he's the best to ever do it. And, you know, I want the opportunity to compete against the best to ever do it.
Yep, makes sense. Speaking of buying beers, is it true that you were a bartender for 20 years at Three Angry Wives?
That's very true. Very true.
So 2000 to 2020, what made you, you know, move away from that? Is it because the time schedule, you had a lot going on with this fighting stuff, you had to take it more seriously?
Well, COVID number one was the big thing. So, you know, I had the cushiest job in the world, bro. Like I showed up and literally worked 4 hours a night on Wednesday and Thursday. So that was it. That was it. Like leading up to towards the end. So I took over. I took it over the gym 9 years ago, as a gym manager. When I took over the gym 9 years ago, I got rid of my Friday shift and I kept basically had Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And then as time progressed and the more and more I was working, I got rid of my Tuesday shift and just had Wednesday, Thursday. And I would show up basically Wednesday and Thursday night. I'd work 8 hours a week and I'd make, you know, crazy cash. And it was very tough to go, you know, to get away from it because it was so easy to do. And I loved it, man. It was something that really kept me grounded. It kept me focused. It kept me hungry. It really did. Like at times I hated having to go in. Like I didn't want to go in because it was kind of, it felt like you were being, you know, like it was a demeaning job at a time. So, like,
yeah.
so you're like, no, I'll knock this motherfucker out, you know, and like, it kept me hungry, to be honest with you, Dylan, and it provided for my family in a ways where if my wife wasn't working full time or anything else, it was an easy job for me to go do. So once COVID hit, it just really kind of decimated the bar industry for me, and I never went back.
Well, it seems like it was good for you when it was good. I mean, a little extra money on the side and it's just something fun to do. Balance, like you said, kept you grounded. So that's cool. I just have two more. So you're traveling to Dublin with Jeremy, right?
Yeah, it should be. Yeah.
Seems like you're traveling every weekend. Of course, the Apex is close and T-Mobile, but all these different places. Is there ever going to, there will be, but do you see a point in the future where, you know, the traveling might be too much? Like I talked to Greg Jackson and he travels a lot less nowadays. I know he's much older, don't get me wrong, but do you think that at one point that you're gonna have to take down the traveling a little bit?
Yeah, I think so. Like, you know, I offered my services to Aljo to go to Abu Dhabi, but Aljo was already squared away. You know, he had his group of guys because they were going out 2 weeks ahead of time, you know, and then obviously Ray's his head coach. So, I mean, that saves me. That saves me a lot to have to go all the way out there and do that kind of travel. So, you know, I think eventually I'm going to have to probably narrow some of that stuff down depending on the fighters. But like, you know, the crew that I have, like the guys that I look at on my list of fighters, like, hey, you're going somewhere. It's going to be very difficult for me to say no to help that fighter. So yeah, I mean, I think eventually at some point when I get too old, but you know, right now I'm just enjoying it. I get to see the world on the promotion's dime, and I'm going to take advantage of it as much as I can.
Of course. Of course. All right, I just got one last one for you. Hope this is the first of many interviews that we do together. I end every interview with this one question. When it's all said and done, training, teaching, coaching, bartending in the future, perhaps, what do you want people to remember most about Eric Nicksick above all else?
Man, that's a good question. Honestly, I hope that I help mold and form better human beings after this sport. You know, the winning and the championships and the titles and all those things, man, the money, that's all beautiful stuff. But like, I look at like Dan Ige and I see a better man. I see a better father. I see a better husband. And that's what I really hope for is that my role in their lives extend further on after fighting, that they're better human beings for what we've invested in one another. So yeah, I that's what I really hope for when they talk about me.
It's a good answer, man. I appreciate it. I'm coming to Las Vegas next month to tour the HQ and the PI. I hope to come out to XC. If I'm welcome, I'll definitely love to do some interviews, some coaches, some fighters. Thank you for the time, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, bro. You're always welcome, man. You gotta spar Sean, but you're welcome.
Happy belated birthday to your daughter, McKenna, man.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you, man.
Let's be good, brother.
All right, Dylan. Have a good one, brother.
I'm not doing that, by the way, but be good.